Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So it's time once again to take a brief break from space because things happened in the dinosaur world, and you guys know that I am a total sucker for dino stories. Just can't help it. Jurassic Park brainwashed my childhood. But this is a really good one, I promise you. Not just a discovery of some fossil by some random person on a beach, but the kind of discovery where the words oldest and most complete come into the picture. And this is one of those cool, weird dinosaurs, you know, like Ankylosaurus or Machioceratops. They don't always get a lot of play, but these animals are just so bizarre looking. Like, wow, nature was just freeballing it for a while there. So spend a few minutes with me and let me tell you about the latest discovery of this incredible fossil of a pachycephalosaur. So this brand new discovery was made in the Gobi Desert in Mongolia, and for the paleontologist who found it, he said this might be the most important fossil discovery of his career. Now, the name of this paleontologist is a doozy, and I saw in a lot of different articles where his first name and his last name were sometimes switched around, front to back, back to front. But I'm gonna go off his LinkedIn page, which lists his name as Chinsarig Sokbatar, and he is a researcher at North Carolina State University. However, on the day of his discovery, he was doing some fossil hunting in the Gobi Desert, and he literally just stepped outside of his tent. He then noticed something small and spherical protruding from a nearby hillside. Upon closer inspection, Dr. Sokbatar quickly realized that this just wasn't any round rock. It was the dome-shaped skull of a pachycephalosaur, a dinosaur that I think we are all familiar with. These are the guys that are famous for their presumed penchant for headbutting each other. And what Dr. Sokbatar had stumbled upon would turn out to be the oldest and most complete pachycephalosaur fossil ever found. The specimen was described in full detail in a paper published in the journal Nature on September 17th, 2025. The researchers say it is 115 to 108 million years old, which is old, super old. We all know that dinosaurs lived millions of years ago. But what's interesting about this is that this time frame is around 14 million years earlier than scientists had thought these dinosaurs first evolved their helmet-like heads. The fossil also had intact arms and hands and a stomach full of stones. More on that later. The study's authors named the species Zavacephaly rinpoche. Now, I'm not going to be saying that insane name throughout this video, so I will be calling our dinosaur Zava. According to Lindsay Zano, head of paleontology at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences and the author of the paper, the name means jewel and root in Tibetan. David Evans, a paleontologist at the Royal Ontario Museum, said, "For those of us who study the dome-headed dinosaurs, Zava is the specimen we have all been waiting for. This is a very exciting fossil that helps illuminate the early evolutionary history of this famous yet poorly understood group of dinosaurs." Pachycephalosaurs are pretty popular dinosaurs and have appeared throughout the Jurassic Park franchise. They were featured in Prehistoric Planet, hosted by our friend David Attenborough, and they made a great sequence about the journey that scientists took in order to determine if Pachycephalosaur was indeed a headbutter. I'll post that clip over on my Patreon if you guys want to watch that. It's actually surprisingly interesting. But despite their popularity, surprisingly, little is known about them. A complete Pachycephalosaur skeleton has never been found, leaving scientists to glean what little they can from a few dozen incomplete specimens. So finding a fairly complete skeleton, and one that is potentially the oldest of this species, is quite the coup. So after the fossil was found, it was shipped to North Carolina State for meticulous scientific reconstruction. Dr. Zano said the specimen was shockingly beautiful. The first time we all saw it prepared, it took our breath away. Analysis of the fossil suggests that the live animal met an untimely end while still a juvenile. The young dinosaur was about the size of a large cat, whereas full-grown pachycephalosaurs were quite a bit bigger, about 4 to 5 meters or 15 feet. But despite its age, the dinosaur's helmet head was surprisingly well developed. Dr. Zano said, "That tells us that this dome structure was an incredibly important aspect of pachycephalosaur biology. It evolved very early in their history, and then they just kept that strategy up through time. And although there is still some debate about why pachycephalosaurs have such thick skulls, recent evidence does suggest that they did use them for butting heads with each other when competing for mates, like bighorn sheep do. And while a lot was learned from studying this dinosaur's perfectly preserved skull, the rest of the body proved just as scientifically valuable. Dr. Evans said having such a complete skeleton behind this skull of such an early pachycephalosaur is a rare treasure trove. He added that one part of the pachycephalosaur anatomy that has long since been a mystery has been its hands. Few well-preserved specimens exist, but the hands of Zava were preserved in nearly perfect detail. And as it turns out, T-Rex is not the only dinosaur with tiny little arms. Dr. Zano, who has spent dozens of hours reconstructing them bone by bone, said their hands were unusually and unexpectedly tiny. The fossilized bones that made up the hand were so small that at first we thought they could be gut contents. And speaking of guts, the stomach of Zava did not contain tiny bones, but did contain several gastroliths, or stomach stones. And this is the part that was quite eye-opening for me. These stones are swallowed by some animals to help them break down their food. While many modern creatures, such as crocodiles and chickens, and some dinosaurs, such as Stegosaurus, were known to make use of gastroliths, this is the first time that they have been found in the stomach of a pachycephalosaur. Now, as always, not everyone necessarily agrees with the findings in this study. Mark Goodwin, assistant director of the University of California Museum of Paleontology in Berkeley, had some doubts about metrics used by the study's authors to assess the skull's development. But he said the gem of a specimen will teach scientists much about the evolutionary journey of pachycephalosaurs. Now, after all the examination, Zava has been returned to Mongolia. But Dr. Zano and her team have more than enough scans and samples to further fuel their studies. Dr. Evans said, given how rare decent skulls and skeletons of this group are, we will be learning from this specimen for years to come. So what do you guys think? Had you heard of, or do you remember reading about pachycephalosaurs, the headbutting dinosaurs? I think the ones that had unusual characteristics like headbutting or spikes on the tail were always the ones that I really remembered. So they're just like locked in my brain forever. And I don't know, I think just these insane creatures that once roamed the earth for millions of years will always just continue to fascinate. And occasionally I will have to share my own obsession with you guys. Okay, that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And as always, I will see you in the next video.